everybody, welcome to Apex Central, first episode, and I couldn't tell you how excited I am to have these four clowns, including myself, on this show. We're going to be talking about everything competitive and casual related, of course, just Apex Legends in general. My IHOLDSHIFT be hosting this for you guys. I'm sure most of you guys know Onset. I think he's on my he's on my right. Onset, good to see you. Monsoon from FlyQuest and Hodsic from the Pittsburgh Knights. I don't know why I brought both Monsoon and Hodsic on the show at the same time, but we did, so there's gonna be a lot of fun being had here.
It's that realm bond. It's the realm bond.
It is the realm bond. Actually, if you're really being specific, the three of you were at Poland, I wasn't, but actually it's Onset who's the one left out here, because Monsoon, Hodsic, and I are all Realm Royale OGs, and Onset is just kind of the guy left out, so I almost feel a little bad for you.
That could be better. I thought you were gonna say it's because you're British, and I was like, all right.
No.
Damn.
Oh, no, we're going down that road.
We don't gotta go there.
We're good. We're
That's
good.
too bad. No,
We don't see nationalities here. We just see personalities, and it's just the way it goes.
We see that smile.
Exactly. It's a brilliant smile. Onset, though, tell the people a little about yourself, since you're in my top left corner here when it comes down to the layout.
So esports caster, obviously had the opportunity to get out to Poland and commentate over these amazing human beings who played there. Had a lot of fun. Been playing Apex since its release. Background in Halo, FIFA, other games. That's it, really. Just a guy doing what he can.
He does it well. If you haven't known him, you should definitely know him. He does it very well. Monsoon, you're up next here. FlyQuest, obviously. I'm sure most people will recognize you from your time at X Games and your little pop-off interview that you had, but tell the people a little about yourself.
Yeah, I just play games, man. I play games, cook food, make music, hang out with the homies. That's pretty much it. Yep.
Wow.
That's it. Yep.
Really? Just really in depth. I can't wait to read that biography.
I mean, I play Apex professionally for FlyQuest, like you said. I think that's like really the only thing that keeps me relevant. So
if it's not your playing, it's definitely your dance moves. We'll maybe see more of that at a later time.
And I am a dancer. So
all we got to do is get you to a big enough stage to where you can make an argument to be on Dancing with the Stars. That's really what we're really shooting for here.
That's what we're all here for. That's the platform we're trying to build.
This is the gateway drug to that. Hodsic, you're up next. Tell the people about yourself a little bit.
About the same as Monsoon, only I play for the Pittsburgh Knights. I hang out with like Wiz Khalifa on the daily. That's about it. I just play a ton of Apex. Grinded hard. The Poland Invitational was like a dream come true. So
Hodsic,
now I wasn't born in Pittsburgh, but I've been raised here my whole life. So it's been pretty cool to actually like compete for a Pittsburgh-based org. So that's pretty dope.
It's pretty dope. And the Wiz Khalifa, was that the inspiration for the black and yellow you got going on here? Or
it was a sub goal. That I set ironically, and one of my viewers happened to win it big at a casino the night before.
Go figure.
But we did black and gold to rep the black and gold with the jersey and all that stuff. So
it looks clean. It looks good.
It actually looks a lot better than I anticipated it looking. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was expecting monstrosity to come through, and
no.
Hodsic
Same actually.
Can pull anything off. Just
I didn't do this to look
smile.
good. I didn't do this to look good.
Smile for me, Hodsic.
All right, well. There it is, a little coy smile. If you guys don't know myself, my IHOLDSHIFT, I also do broadcasting things. I've been doing Apex stuff since the game came out. A lot of smaller online tournaments. Also did DreamHack Dallas, stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe we'll be doing more of this. Actually, we will be doing more of this. I won't put the maybe there. It just comes down to, will we do this weekly or bi-weekly? That's more determinant on what kind of content we have to cover. The last thing we want to do is force a podcast where we're not talking about anything. So as far as this show goes, expect to see more of it, at least on a bi-weekly basis, hopefully with the same, if not somewhat recurring guests that'll be coming back through. And we'll just be talking about things mostly, again, like we mentioned, competitive related, but we'll also throw in some conversation about what you guys are looking forward to when it comes down to the casual side of the game, if you were to call it that, when it comes down to things like ranked mode and season 3 and all of that. So let's start with Poland, because that's the biggest topic on a lot of people's minds over the last couple of weeks. First and foremost, we of course saw the X Games, 20 teams, that's fine. We kind of expected that, but 80 teams, I want to get first and foremost the player's perspective, starting with Monsoon. When you heard that it was going to be 80 teams, what were your expectations for this event as a whole?
Oh man, honestly, my expectations were to just get RNG'd and get knocked out of the tournament super early, the same as every other team. Because we have so many teams that don't scrim, or just we're looking to still establish like that skill gap, or the skill of T1 pros. So when you have all the signed T1 players and then you have a lot of players who don't even scrim or haven't really played the game as much as the other. It's kind of it was a total RNG fest. So I was definitely expecting to get knocked out by like some random team super early. So I think everybody else was the same too, though. It's
Was
just
it
it's like
the same for you, Hodsic, too?
Yeah, it basically happened to us. I told my whole team, and Leonix was our CEO, went with us. I told him like my biggest fear isn't like not being like good enough to get to like the finals, but it's 3 games isn't a lot, and anything can happen, especially when you're in an environment like Monsoon said, where like a lot of us have been scrimming for a long time, and we all have like kind of like established drop spots. It throws a huge wrench in the cog or whatever, if you will, when a random team that hasn't been scrimming comes in and then like they don't know where to drop, they split loot with you and like run or whatever. It's just there was a lot of fear, but I was surprised at how well it worked out though. I thought it was going to be kind of like a mess. I was like, how the heck are they going to make an 80 team LAN work? But honestly, it was handled really well.
Yeah, big ups to all the teams too for not griefing and playing seriously as well. So
I was expecting to see, on a spectator point of view, a lot of kind of that same thing where it was, you know, going back to when we were playing Realm and all that stuff. I mean, it was, you know, where teams are going to land after like round 4, but you didn't have 4 rounds. You had 3 rounds. I was expecting absolute chaos in the early game, but Onset, we didn't really get a lot of that. It was a couple of early skirmishes, but as a broadcaster, I mean, you guys prepared your absolute butts off by the sound of it, talking to Rain Day and Fallout a little bit. And you even said just before we started that you guys feel like you still missed so much.
I mean, it's so tough. It's such a tough game to obviously commentate when you have so many teams and we have so few observer tools to work with to help us out. So that was kind of what the control center was trying to help us with drops and things like that, because we thought the same thing. There's so many random teams, and you know, we didn't know where certain teams were going to be dropping. It was kind of like, okay, we need to follow these random teams and get the control center to follow that on drop, so that if there's griefing or something crazy happens, we need to capture it. Like, we need to see that. So that was kind of like really tough, and we were really trying. But as you said, there was so little of it. There was a few, maybe game 1, there was a little bit of, as you say, like a few teams land together, a little bit of split loot, but there was nothing crazy sort of early on in the games. So it was kind of fun. We were kind of like, from that point of view as a broadcaster and like to entertain, we were kind of hoping it would happen in the first couple of games, but it didn't. And that's like testament to all the teams, and obviously the fact that, you know, they were playing for those points and playing for wins.
Yeah.
Now, 80 teams as a whole, did you guys initially think too much, too little? I mean, it seemed pretty jarring from my perspective. It's like 80 teams, like I couldn't even name more than 30. Like, even if I were to sit down with pen and paper, I couldn't even come up with 30 teams. I was a little concerned that the quality of opponents was going to be really lackluster, but that didn't really seem to be much the case at all, at least from my perspective.
I mean, 240 players.
Yeah.
That's a lot of humans.
there definitely was. I would say there. Obviously, we don't know. Like, I don't think anyone knew every single team that was there, but we did get the list. We did see all the groups. There was definitely a massive change, a difference in skill gap. I think my team particularly experienced it because, as the casters alluded to, and I think a lot of people like realized, like the initial group C and D, they called it the groups of death.
Absolutely.
Monsoon and I were in group C. My team got destroyed the first day. Part of it was like we weren't ready like to play, like we didn't prep for like the LAN differences, like no audio and stuff like that. We just didn't play accordingly, but we got destroyed day 1, and then we immediately fell to the first losers bracket, and the quality of gameplay between the two was monumental. We got destroyed. I don't think it's not like we can't hang in our group C. I think we just weren't prepared. But we went in and immediately won the first game, like with like I think 10, 12 kills or something, in the first losers bracket. So there definitely was a wide variety of skill there. It is obviously different because everyone's playing for like position and stuff like that, and you're scared to push people because it's not always a good idea. But there's a lot of factors, but there definitely was a wide variety of skill.
I think the 80 teams as well. I looking at this event, it was one of those where if you're going to start an esport and have like establish, you know, what teams are going to be the best, you have to have one of these big events to give everyone the opportunity to compete and get those tier levels out.
Absolutely.
So now that you've, like you were saying, there was that discrepancy once you fell down to the losers bracket. But unless you give all of those teams who have been playing and have competing and putting that time in that equal, you know, level playing field to kind of establish those levels, then things get a little bit easier moving forward as far as how many teams you have and et cetera, et cetera. Because as you had, like 80 teams it's not just like a huge undertaking for a tournament organizer to have an event. Also, you've got so many stations, so many issues that you can potentially have. It's like one of those things where so much could go wrong. And it was actually a surprise to me that so little did, because we had so many things. But now that we have that kind of, you've had all of those teams that deserved an opportunity there, and you kind of established that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I think it's really positive for Apex as an esport moving forward.
So
for sure,
would you guys want to see it continue to be 80 teams? You know, again, this was just a preseason invitational. We don't have details as far as what a regular season would look like. Would you guys as players want to continue to see 80 teams, or do you think 40 would do the trick, or maybe even 60?
From what I understand, I think that they want to be more towards qualifiers rather than have 80 teams go to LAN. So I think in the future they're definitely going to hold qualifiers and then bring maybe 20, 40 teams max. I mean, you know, 80 teams, it was rough. You know, how much time we spent, how many games we played. Finals we played 11, and then, like, you know, the first two we played 9, and if you, or 6, and if you were in losers brackets, like 12, something like that.
Right.
But I mean, I wouldn't mind it either way, for sure. But I think qualifiers online and then bringing 40 to 20 teams would be a lot cleaner and easily manageable compared to, you know, the 80 teams, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's like it's a double-edged sword. I think it's really cool. It's one of the this is like one of the first esports, at least that I can think of, that wants to be very all-inclusive. Like,
Right.
obviously, there were so many unsigned teams there, and I think that's really cool. I think it's awesome to give everybody a chance to compete. That's really, really cool. But it's also like a double-edged sword, because then for me, I'm like worried about like the org side of things. Like, I'm starting to think, like, does it make sense to be on an org? Obviously, orgs pay for like travel expenses and all that stuff. There's a lot of benefits to being on an org. But, you know, if you're like a team like 789, which came out of left field, you know, why join an org when you can just place really well, and probably make a decent enough money to get to the next tournament and keep just winning money? I'm assuming,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
So it's like it's a double-edged sword, but I do think it's really cool that overall, especially like even if you were to get dropped from an org, you still have a chance to compete. You know, you don't. It's not closed off. I do think it's cool that they're being all inclusive.
I think you look at that 80 teams that were there, and the cool thing about it is, like you said, you can have a team come out of left field that no one's expecting, that maybe would not have had that opportunity
right
moving forward, and 789 took that opportunity. But I think moving forward, 80 is too many. I have to be honest. I think logistically, for everyone involved, for talent, for everyone, it was like the days were long. Like, we had a lot of games to get through, and it was exhausting. If you want to keep the quality of gameplay and the quality of broadcast at its highest level, you have to take that into account. However, on the other side of that, like you were saying, it was super cool to have 80 teams there and have that huge tournament feel, and like everyone being inclusive. So I love that. But now that you've got those kind of like established teams from regions as well, if you want to have regional representation for what, you know, however you want to do it, you have that guideline now of what teams are the top teams and what teams are going to have to work through qualifiers, if there are those, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, it helps with storylines as well. If you've got similar teams every single time and smaller amounts, then, you know, you got storylines moving forward, and that engages people to watch.
That was kind of my biggest thing as well, was, you know, kind of doing the recaps, was that there were different teams that popped up every day that kind of stole the show in one way or another, whether it was a surprise because, hey, they didn't make it out of their group stages, or big surprise, they made it through their group stages like 789 did and absolutely stunned everybody, which kind of brings into the next kind of format question about double elimination. Now, this is one of the first times that we've seen this kind of a format in Battle Royale esports on this type of an environment when it comes to a tournament setting. So double elimination, does that provide you enough of a context to say that the format worked itself out? Because I think from a player perspective, when the announcement was made that, hey, group stage is only going to be 3 drops, most people were not very happy about that. But it kind of ended up giving you the opportunity of all you have to do is have 1 good drop and you're through the next stage safely. Do you guys like the fact that you're essentially given not just 3 rounds, but essentially it's 6 rounds per stage, right? You've got 3 from your winner's bracket and then 3 from your loser's bracket. Did the double elimination work to, I won't say perfection, but did it work better than what you may have expected?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of double elim, right? Because if you show up, you don't have experience at a LAN at all. You know, you play your first, especially when it's only 3 matches, you know, you don't do well, and then you play losers bracket the next day, you're still in it for, 2 solid days. So you're still able to reset, reconsolidate as a team, both mentally and strategically, and come back again the next day. So I think it would suck to show up at the first big tournament for Apex and immediately drop on the first day. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say.
Right here.
I'm sure Hodsic has a lot of opinions on that.
Like 3 games, 6 games. Like even if it were 6 games and it were single elim, it would still feel really bad because that's nature of competitive, right?
Yeah.
So.
And there's obviously I feel like I can't be happy about or I can't be sad about the double elimination. It obviously worked out really well for us. It was the difference between us being like 77th and 29th is where we finished. But like we had a good run to get into the finals. We really could have made it, I think. So I like it a lot. I agree. I like the fact that you play like different sets because like Monsoon said, you can show up and just not be ready day one, even if you play 6 games. It can be really rough, especially because, like I said, like you're playing different groups as well. So maybe you just get a group that where like 3 people in that one group can test your drop, that that from like scrims, and then you don't have like a backup plan, or it's hard to like come up with something on the fly, and things just don't go your way, and you drop and you just lose immediately. Like that's it's unfortunate, but I do like the double elim for that reason. I think it definitely like negates a lot of that. And it allows for cool comeback stories because I think there were a lot of people that were like on board with our comeback story for a little bit.
Absolutely.
I was personally on board.
Dude, it was.
I know you're on record.
I'm gonna be honest.
CLG,
we were like,
right? And CLG.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. Our we were really gloomy going into day 2. Like all of us, like on the ride there, we were kind of just like a little silent. We were like, we know what we got to do. It's possible, but damn, it's like do or die right now. And we hit the ground running, and it was one of the best experiences just of my life in general. It was such an emotional roller coaster, and it was so cool. So I think I'm a big fan of the double elim. I think it worked really well too.
So that's one of the reasons I absolutely love double elim, is like the emotional roller coaster, not only for you, but for players, for fans, for everyone to watch. It's like, oh no, they've dropped down. I know they're going to make it through, and then they do, and you have these stories. But I'm also a big fan of double elimination in general, because I always feel like a tournament is held to find the best players and the best team. And especially when you have a tournament with unknown teams as well, you need to give, to add in RNG as well into that conversation, because obviously it is a battle royale. You have to have as many stages as possible to ensure that you are getting the best teams in that final. So I think double elimination is very important for battle royales in general, to be honest with you. I mean, the only downside of it, playing devil's advocate here again, is time. It's another thing that's going to add a lot of time to a tournament. But I feel, and for most tournaments, it's incredibly important, especially, as you say, if you're having a set of 3, which I also, by the way, think is a good thing.
I think
a
so
set
too.
Of 3, because it forces you to play well. And like you were saying, you didn't play well. You didn't feel you played as well as you could have in that first day. And it hurt. It cost you. Like you have to play your best all the way through the tournament in order to get through the tournament.
Yeah. Touching back on like the lack of experience. So after X Games, I went home to leave Tempo and start playing with the FlyQuest roster. And I think the entire month before Poland, I was stressing so hard to Zach and Lou that scrims are nothing like Flint, right? Yeah. And Zach the entire time's like, no, we're gonna play just like this. We're gonna roll people. It's gonna be easy, right? And first day, it was 3 games, and we managed to scoot on by. But I think like the first game, like 50 damage done, or like 100 damage done, or like 150. And Zach looks at me and goes, dude, I am so dumb, dude. He's like, I'm so stupid. I should have just listened to you. And I was like, what have I been telling you?
Like when you're sat home, you have a cup of tea right next to you, got a nice comfy chair. You get to land and your hand is shaking on your mouse. Like it's totally different environment. The lights are on. It's not a monitor you're used to. You can hear everybody around you. If someone like destroys you, you're gonna hear it like across the arena. Like it happens, and that shakes people. But that's the beauty of live events. That's the beauty of LANs. That's why it's so fun.
That's why double elim is also good for those people that may be naive to competitive gaming, especially on stage. Because this is both Lou and Zach's first time playing a game professionally, and that was their first time playing on stage in a massive tournament like that. So if we were to fail out day 1, double elim would have saved us for sure. So
I think that was a lot of the story for a lot of players. I mean, think about all the last minute fill-ins. Team Secret was in that boat. I mean, they had a last minute fill-in. They played awful the first day, got down to the losers round 1, and then they're in the losers finals. Third Impact, same story. They were
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity, Wyvern, Counter Logic, all of them were in the losers bracket early.
I think Kick was also.
Yeah.
Kick made it to the finals, and they were also out in the first round. So yeah, no, it saved a lot of teams. I think it was awesome.
Yeah, I initially was a little bit skeptical of the 3 rounds, but after kind of seeing it in practice and seeing that, hey, you know, the early rounds are just that. They're early rounds. They're all about just getting through. I mean, the big bread and butter comes when you start to hit the 4 rounds with winners finals, losers finals, and then grand finals. And I think it served as a good kind of weeding out process because, again, all you needed was one good game to get through your group or your losers round 2. And, you know, as much as that kind of seems to a certain level a little bit cheap, like, oh, they only had one good game, like you could finish 20th. I mean, kind of like Reciprocity. They finished 20th 2 times in a row and then finished, you know, second with 20 kills or whatever it was and got their way through. And
it also forces people to change their game style if you get into that position.
Exactly. And I like
which
that.
is fascinating because you're not watching the same game 3 times in a row. You know what I mean? Like, you're not watching everyone drop on their spot and then just play. Say someone gets circled, they're not moving. Like, you're forced to change your gameplay because you're chasing points. So, you know, that adds another element into it. Plus, you have that idea of, you know, if there's a team on the cusp and there's a team who's in 20th and they need points, is someone going to land on someone? Are they going to take that risk if they kill them, knock them out? Do you know what I mean? It gives so many things. And I think that's another thing that maybe teams will look at next time around is you might see a few more teams landing on teams on that cutoff.
I see
in that third round because it's a risk, but if you're in 20th, you have to take it. You've got nothing to lose.
Absolutely.
I see so much debate on like, oh, this team griefed us or this team, you know, killed us and landed on us. But like spoiling and strategic fights, that's the word. No, just like strategically like spoiling teams above.
That's part of competition.
That's the nature of the game, right? You know, we have so many people that are like, oh, bro, they landed on us, they griefed us. Like, well, man, you know, that's how it goes.
I'm just saying, like, any spot you land on the map does not have your name on it.
100%.
Maybe apart from the cage with TSM, maybe they're gonna get their name on it. But you know what I mean?
Hey, MVP tried.
They had to go.
Cage has been free the past 2 tournaments. So next tournament, I mean, I'm pretty confident that FlyQuest is gonna land Cage. Next tournament for sure. So
we'll see here first. Moving on a little bit, you know, we kind of already hit on it a little bit when it came down to your biggest surprises, but I kind of want to get both positive, who surpassed your expectations, and maybe not so positive, who didn't quite meet your expectations. We'll start with Onset first. Who was your biggest positive surprise from the tournament as a whole?
Are we all going to say it at the same time?
You might as well, right? I mean,
should we all just say
1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. But besides 7, 8, 9, how about that? We'll talk specifically about 7, 8, 9 at some point in time.
I'm gonna, you know, just say that first. I said 7, 8, 9. So yeah,
okay,
that's
fair enough.
But, I mean, they were unbelievable. But the other team, I was gonna say is Gamers Origin. You know, those French guys played probably some outside of TSM, some of the most consistent games that we saw throughout the tournament. They were always in that top 10, always getting a decent amount of kills as well, and it showed when it got down to those into that grand final. You know, I think they came 5th. Was it in the end? I don't have the final standings.
4th or 5th, I think.
4th or 5th, yeah, which is. Again, amazing, a great achievement for the French team, a great achievement for European teams. And I think it was their consistency across all games, which was the thing that really stood out for me. They were just so, they've made so few mistakes. And I think that's the teams that perform well were the ones that made the least mistakes. I mean, it's obvious to say, but they were always playing within themselves and just consistent. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
I think for me, definitely Navi was a big one. I knew they were a strong team. They're like, I think 2 of them are ex-Quake pros. So I know that, like, you know, they're good players for sure. They can absolutely hit their shots, but I did not think they were going to run away with the finals for the most part. How they did, they were like slaughtering.
Dude, the first 2 days, I mean, they went into losers.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
they were on the cusp. They were finishing 8th, 10th in their early stages for sure.
I think they had probably the most impressive performance in the finals, period. I mean, obviously they had the most points. It's easy to say, but I think they were just so dominant. Wyvern as well. I knew they were very good players, but I was very surprised at just how good they were on LAN as well.
Yeah. Raz.
Mm-hmm.
nuts. He's nuts.
He's nuts.
I'd agree with you on Wyvern and MVP as well. Like, just to throw them in there, it's like we all know, and like it's always you have that team that you hear about, you know, when you're going into a tournament, and you're like, oh, are they going to be that good on LAN? Is it going to transfer over? But both the Korean teams were.
Well, especially out of their region too, where a lot of people were just saying that these guys were just coming over to different regions just to get some kind of experience, because there wasn't as much practice as I think they wanted to in South Korea when it came down to scrims and practice, you know, to the rehearsal that you guys got. Monsoon, who was your biggest surprise?
Oh, surprise. Probably Navi as well. Like, because like they landed runoff on us, and you know they went through losers bracket. They were playing really inconsistent. So like, you know, I think we fought a total of like 6 times the entire tournament, something like that. And dude, like coming into finals, they dumpstered us a couple fights, and then we kind of like dumpstered them a couple fights too. But like the finals, they popped off. Outside of that, I think CLG has improved.
Oh yeah,
an incredible amount. Yeah, so I'm super proud of those guys. I mean, obviously, I'm also super disappointed in us. You know,
Me
17th
too.
place is kind of sucks, man. But you know, dude, Navi they played definitely well, especially in finals, and CLG improved a lot too. I wasn't so surprised that a lot of the like org teams and the tier 1 teams, you know, got knocked out early, because like we were talking earlier, just the RNG of 80 teams.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, like one team that I was sad to see go was actually both Fanatics. I think they're both
Fnatic
monstrous
used
rosters.
for me specifically. Yeah.
Especially after Fnatic used day 2, like they were.
Oh yeah, they were scary.
They were insane.
And Fnatic NA is known as just one of the best like teams in terms of like playing rotationally and playing smart, and it was just such a surprise to me that neither of them made it. But I think that's that lends itself partly to the 3 games. I mean, yeah, it's double elim, but at the end of the day, it is 6 games, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it can still be tough.
Like, because of the format, like this tournament isn't a good gauge of how good teams are or players are, but then again, it is. Does that make sense?
It's not enough of a sample size to be fully representative. I feel you.
I agree. Exactly. So I think a lot of people were really stressed out that Poland was gonna be the tournament that gauges, you know, player skills and whether or not they're invited or included to future events. But I think EA feels the same as well. That like I don't think Poland is like, you know, the tournament to be able to establish who's the best and who's not.
You're saying it was some teams who players were playing their first event, like your two teammates.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely a shaky situation.
There's because like I still like, I mean, we joke about it a lot, but like, you know, I'll jump into like Discord calls with a lot of the other teams like Tempo boys and like the Fnatic boys too, and they'll be like, oh, why are you talking to like a bottom 40 player? And I'm just like, you guys are still a nuts team, you know what I mean? Like despite like the unfortunate ranking, I agree, it's not a clear indicator, but obviously if you are a team that popped off consistently, you are still if you placed high, then obviously you did well, but it's not a clear, consistent indicator of the teams at the bottom end either.
100%, I 100% agree. My biggest, I think, positive surprise was Team Secret, simply due to the fact that they didn't have Yusuf, and they still played very, very well in the last couple of days. Big shout outs to Limek for coming in last second.
Yeah, Limek is a good player.
He's a great player. It's just the unfamiliarity.
Actually, I could have my information wrong, but I was told that Leonix actually did some snooping. He told me 789 also had a stand-in. The third person, I forget who his name is, but Zania and Izdesu are part of the team, but that third person wasn't their normal player.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I bet he is now.
Yeah, probably. He was a sub. That's what I heard. I don't know if
Exons was a sub, is what you're saying. Wow.
Yeah, so they also, I mean, honestly, I have such a big respect for Zenia and Izdesu, but Zenia is like, dude, the plays that guy made when he almost killed Sentinels.
The 1v3 versus Sense, yeah, that would have been nuts.
I mean, his 1v3 clutch at the end, like,
I think he 1v3
what was more incredible, like the fact that those people missed everything, or the fact that he hit everything.
Yeah,
like,
no,
it was crazy.
Definitely one of the more historic moments, I think, early on in this competitive. I mean,
you can imagine being the other side of that, though, that 1v3, right? It's like,
oh my God.
You always expect, because it's 1v3, you expect your teammate to finish the kill. It's like, oh, yeah, oh, you got him. Oh, you haven't got him. Oh, you got him. And then you're like, oh, shit, it's a 1v1. It's like, now you're like this, like all over the place, like trying to shoot. It's like, you're not hitting a bullet. That was crazy.
Man, it was, oh, man, it was so frustrating. Like, on the side of Zania, like, he did super well. He hit every shot. But then you also look at the other side, and they ran hammer points and had havocs, and
Yeah.
I don't think did like a single shred of damage until after he knocked 2. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, Zani is so good, but also this team. I wonder how they're feeling.
It had to have been nerves, man. I mean, that's
like at X Games, we got 1v3 by Asu for 20th spot at Alamo outside of Pitt, and he 1v3'd us. And I remember being like, you know, it was so bad. It was so
character building. That's what they say.
The night before, the day before, I said we're gonna win every single game, in my interview, and then first game of day 2, we get 1v3 20th place. It was so sad. So
Ray, go figure.
Man.
But on that note,
Yeah.
I kind of want to get, what was your guys' favorite individual moments, whether it's playing or watching? Onset, I want to get your take first because I want to know what your favorite call of the tournament was that you had.
My favorite call of the tournament. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't actually mine because I don't like talking about my own. That's not for me to talk
Fair
about.
enough.
But like, I
Respectable.
thought that Bravo and Dreadnought's call of that 1v3 was perfect because they didn't overkill it, didn't oversell it, and like there was just that moment. And then when it happened, they just obviously lost their minds. Like, and it's so difficult to do, like as a commentator, to hold back in those moments and let the gameplay talk because you just want to scream, you want to shout because you're like, oh my god, what is happening? But
Yeah.
the more you let it breathe, when that moment happens, it's like then you can. It was they killed it.
It was,
Like,
a
it
great
was
call.
so good,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
good.
Monsoon,
Shout out
favorite
to those
moment from the tournament for you?
Oh man. I'm gonna be a little conceited here and say that I was okay. So first game, second or third game of the first set. Okay, I run hammer points now because hammer points are ridiculously overpowered, and I came into a third party fight that had started with our team, and they killed Zach and Lou, and I came back and I ended up 1v2ing twice and getting 4 kills and like a bunch of loot, and I think that was probably like my proudest moment out of.
Yeah,
like,
did you kill
all of
Shroud too,
Apex.
dude?
All right, there it is, dude. No, dude, I was so hyped because, like, dude, I walked, but it was crazy. That was probably the hypest moment of the entire tournament for me, other than watching the 1v3s or Raz's almost 1v3 outside of Thunderdome.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot
in the
who
hangar.
it was.
Yeah,
That was
insane.
nuts.
That was crazy, dude. That was
We had the
crazy.
1v1 as well. MVP versus
And Hal.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that was-
dude, that
also
was
crazy.
insane.
That was
I felt
my
really
favorite
bad.
moment.
If Hal would have won there, holy
Yeah.
crap! If Hal would have
See,
won there, that would
we
have
talk
been
about
nuts.
good calls. I feel really bad as well because like he obviously got hit the fence and was stunned, and the guy jumps out. He missed one peacekeeper shot, and I just remember calling his peacekeeper shot terrible. I was like, it was such a hard shot that the guy's jumping over him and he's stunned. I was like, afterwards, I was like, if he hits that, it's the most insane shot in the world. I was like, that's not terrible. I was like,
Yeah,
here's what
yeah.
happens. That whole play and that whole sequence of events was mad. That was really, really, really fun to call.
Yeah, like I think if Hal just like he ego checks the first 2 guys, and then he plays super defensive on the last guy, dude. That was that was the most nerve-wracking.
Oh
moment,
yeah, I can't
think,
believe.
Yeah.
I was
Like,
standing
more
up at home
so
watching.
than
I was
the other
on my feet.
1v3. Yeah, more so than Xenia's 1v3, just because like how clear of a lead Xenia had, going in and stuff like that.
And so much of and what was on the line too.
Yeah, because they would have won the tournament right then and
Yep.
there.
Oh my, yeah, that was.
That's crazy.
Onset,
still
what about
stand
you?
by-
Feel the tension in that as well. You can feel
Oh,
like how much.
100%.
It wasn't even like I feel like both players in that situation as well were like not thinking about what they were doing so much. It was about what the other player was doing. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh,
Yeah,
has he armor
yeah.
swap? Like has he? Do you know what I mean? Like all these things are going
Does he
through
have
their head.
armor? How much
But
is
yeah,
his health?
exactly.
Yeah.
It was crazy to watch. Like it was. It just ended up looking really tentative until one of them like made a. That was amazing.
I still stand by that Imperial Hal is the best player in this game. Like, that's it.
Yeah,
I've said
absolutely.
that since day one. Since he's
Absolutely.
through everything. I've said, especially before X Games, that Hal is like the best.
It's because he's
player.
It's actually because he's part Bosnian. that's why.
Bosnian. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. That makes you also the best player, right?
We're getting there. We're getting there. It's a work in progress.
That's why we got that new mouse coming. That's going to help in the effort,
Absolutely.
right? Hodsic, did you
Yeah,
have a
I
favorite specific standout moment for you personally?
I mean, yeah, I hate to pick one of my own, but I made a post about it actually on
Did you
Twitter.
outdamage Dizzy?
All right, calm
Oh
down.
my gosh.
Calm down.
Yeah.
But no,
get out of here, dude.
But no, even though like winning a game, like the first game of losers bracket day 1 was awesome, it was a good feeling. The biggest moment for us was certainly in round 2. There was I think the caster said it was a 3-way tie, but when I looked at the standings, it looked like a 4-way tie to get into to advance to the next round.
It was a 4-way tie. Yeah.
And the amount, my heart has never beat harder than when we were standing there looking, because honestly, like for us, it was just losers bracket round 2, but for us it was make or break. Honestly, after the first after the first day, I literally sat there second guessing myself. Like, am I wasting my time doing this? Should I just be pursuing something else? And that was basically the make or break. Had we had lost that tiebreaker, I probably wouldn't be sitting in this apartment right now. You know what I mean? So it was such an emotional roller coaster for us, and it was such a huge sigh of relief and an incredible feeling when we saw that we were 9th. It kind of like validated to me. Like, I was like, yeah, we can do this. You know, like maybe we got a shot here. It felt amazing.
Feels good, man.
Yeah, and then we comfortably placed in the next one. I think we got like 5th or 6th, and against some really good teams. I think both Fanatics were in there, so it was a huge make or break moment for us. And I have to be selfish and pick that moment because it was one of the best moments of my life. To be honest, it was crazy.
I mean, be proud. You deserve it. You know, it's okay to be proud and share that pride. You know?
Wish I had a play to talk about.
Yeah, right. That was actually a 5-way tie as I'm looking back at it, with 2 teams that were only a point under, so it was almost a 7-way tie, which would have been, I'm sure, insane for the admins to figure out exactly who got through on that one. But there was a lot of really high moments. I want to get a buy or sell moment for you guys. Whether you buy this statement or sell this statement is up to you. TSM is by far the best team in the game.
Bye.
Okay. I'd buy that. I don't know about by far, but they are absolutely.
It's Onset's turn. Hodsic.
Oh, my bad.
It's fine. We're friends here. I mean, to be honest with you, there's one word in that makes it a little bit loaded, isn't it? But like by far, that's the difficult part.
That's why I wrote it like that.
I'm gonna say yes until proven otherwise. That's the thing.
Yeah.
True.
Like, how can you argue with it? How can you argue with it? Because they've won X Games. They won the Poland. Plus, just remember how many points they got in the winners bracket final as well when they disconnected from a game.
Disconnected from a game.
Yeah.
Just forget about that. Everyone forgets about that.
Yeah.
You know, they qualified without playing one of their games. So yeah, they are.
Like, Reps, biggest brains in the world. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how many scrims they win too.
Yeah.
Like, they probably win a good 40%
with teams trying to grief them on the drop too.
With teams trying to grief them. So 40% win rate in scrims is ridiculous, and to be able to translate that onto stage, Reps has the biggest brain, Hal has the biggest clutch, and Alab is the biggest fragger. Like, they're all so good.
They complement each other so well. There is not a single weak link on that team.
Yeah,
they have that sort of thing as well, where they seem like they're one of the quickest teams to realize the moment they have any kind of advantage, either on a rotation or in a battle. For example, if they get damage done, they're so quick at capitalizing that, especially around end circles. You see, they ended up, say they win a game, they usually get 10, 12 kills in the process, and it's because they're not afraid to make that push in those end circles when there's 3 or 4 teams left. Like, they're so good. There was one I remember, which was in artillery, and I think they zipped to the top of a building as soon as a fight happened, and they won that game. And I think they cleaned up the team that were trying to push in the moment they fired a bullet, and it was like, go, we're going. And like, just that full commitment, all 3 players on the same page, is just incredible to watch. Like, it's incredible to watch.
Yeah. No one plays. They all do what they are all like borderline the best at what they do, and they all do different things. Like, nobody plays Pathfinder competitively like Alb does. You can tell, even if Alb changes his skin every game, you could still tell who Alb was by being split. Like, he's always pushing like hard, but like he knows his limits better than any Pathfinder in the game.
I think he's definitely getting there.
Yeah. I mean, no player is perfect, but he's absolutely nuts.
He's incredible. Yeah, I think Alb is.
He's very good at capitalizing.
They're all just so good, man.
Yeah.
Hal knows how much he can and can't do as a Wraith player, and having Reps with, like I said, big brain.
Reps is just
it works out.
Darn consistent.
He's so cute.
He's so consistently cute. Just keep that. Let's just combine the two.
Cutely consistent, like, you know. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're on the same page with that one. I was hoping for maybe more of a discussion out of that point, but it's hard to argue it, I think. Just, they're awful, actually. Grand Finals format, I want to talk about that because this is, I think, by far the biggest conversation point that we got out of the format as a whole from Poland. Obviously, the whole idea of having a 50-point threshold, which qualifies you to win the tournament, but to win the tournament, you also have to win a game, in case you're unfamiliar. What were your guys' opinions on the threshold plus win format versus your normal set number of rounds, top score wins format? Onset, I'm going to kind of start with you as far as your
do I have to start this time? I wanted to wait.
Okay, fine.
Okay, all right. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'll go.
Okay.
I'll get it out of the way. So, I think it was amazing. I think it was brilliant. I think it was everything. It gave us everything we wanted, right? There are some tweaks to be made, however, because that final lasted too long. Although, you know, the hype and everything as it was building was great, it did feel as we were getting to those final games, it's like, can someone win? Do you know what I mean? It was getting to like that point, I think, for viewers, where it was like, we need someone to win at this point. Like, how long is this going to go? So I think the best part of the format is the fact that we get that champions banner and someone is a winner. I think that's the great thing about it. I think we don't have those dead rubber almost games where someone's got so many points, we've still got rounds to go and they've already won, and it's like, well, why are we bothering playing? You know, we don't have that moment. Exactly. You have that moment where it says champion and we have a champion, right?
Yeah.
My adjustment I would make for the format to eliminate maybe the length of the grand final is players and teams who have fought their way through the upper bracket and the winners bracket should be rewarded. If they go from the winners bracket and they do not get knocked down to that lowers bracket, they go into the winners bracket final and they qualify in top 10, they should be given a point head start, in my opinion. First place should get X amount of points.
I like that.
All the way down to 10th, which means that the team who have performed best on the first 2 days are closer to hitting their threshold and getting on match point than everyone else, because they should be rewarded. If they've been the best throughout the first 2 days, they should be rewarded. And that would shorten down the period of time for someone to be on match point. That would be my adjustment that I would make.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hodsic, pros and cons of each for you?
I think most people unanimously agree that like it's amazing for a spectator, kind of terrible for a player. I agree with that, by the way. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, it's nice we got the two different perspectives. Monsoon played, I was watching, but like I loved it. It was really hype, but I know it would be absolutely exhausting to freaking play that. I think that's pretty unanimously across the board like that. I think it's such a cool idea to have that hype of the tournament, like that somebody just won a game and they're the champions. I think that's such a good idea. But I think a little bit of adjustment either through getting a point head start or maybe even like lowering the match point threshold by like maybe like 5 to 10 points would probably eliminate a game or two. But nothing too crazy out of that. I think most people generally feel that way.
Monsoon, you're the one player here one person here that got to experience it all in practice when it came down to actually participating in the finals. So I want to get your take on this.
Beautiful for the spectators, for sure. I mean, I don't think I haven't, because like I've talked to a lot of them, like especially after the time where we full sent into G2 so they wouldn't win in like game 10, right? And they're just like, it was super hyped because like at that point you have 9 teams over the threshold and it's anybody's game. The only thing was, you know how undeserving it would feel if we hit the 50-point threshold after like 10 games and then get lucky and win the next game and then we're the champions, you know? I don't think neither, you know, me, my team, or anybody that competed in the finals would be like, you deserve that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know.
Definitely...
I don't know. Like, if you've had the opportunity for 5 or 6 games to win a game, and I know it's easier said than done, don't get me wrong, and you can't get it done, you haven't got it done.
For sure.
It gets difficult though, because like look at Navi. Those guys slaughtered, and then all of a sudden everyone is targeting them.
Right.
Nobody wants them to win. People will throw their entire game to kill them or make sure they die. So it's almost like whoever, like the first 3 people that cross the threshold, it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because everyone's gonna start targeting you. You know what I mean?
It's like you know,
it's tough.
Objectively and rationally speaking, if you get over that threshold, no matter how many games it takes you, and you win, you should deserve to win for sure. But when especially players are so emotionally invested that have already hit the threshold, like regardless of how rational it may seem that this team deserves to win, they're still gonna have that feeling of like that team, they don't deserve, they sucked, they were bad, they were terrible, they don't deserve it over the 10 teams that hit it in the first 5 games. And honestly, I definitely thought about that during the games for sure. I was like, dude, like there's definitely a way, and we're gonna try our hardest to win. But like if we win, you think people are gonna bag on us more than congratulate us? You know what I'm saying? It's like it was definitely weird.
I think it's one thing that I wanted to add as well is like at its core, if you're trying to engage a casual audience into an esport as well, this game and BRs are about survival, right? That's the core mechanic. To win, you have to survive. And I think if you want to draw people in from a casual aspect as well, viewership wise, having a moment where someone wins and actually is winning is so vital. Like you could play 10 games. It's like, well, they didn't win a game. Like, do you know what I mean? Like for a casual viewer, there's not that crossover of what they're used to seeing as a winner.
Oh yeah.
And like, no, I do get your point though on the like the feeling great for spectators, but I also feel I don't know, like it's one of those things where you might not feel undeserved, but I also feel that there's 2 potential different ways that teams can play in order to play for placement or play for points. You know what I mean? So like if you're given the opportunity to, yes, it's difficult to win a game. Again, I put this in like the asterisk. I understand that it's
so
tough.
difficult.
I 100% get that. Don't get me wrong. But if you're given enough opportunities to do it and you can't do it and someone else can, I don't see that as being a bad thing.
Yeah, no, of course. I completely agree. But
I get what you're saying, though. It's like for the players,
back with the emotions of players. Yeah.
I think 100% they should keep the match point threshold winner thing. I think there's nothing more important than making sure this is a good spectator sport, which I think even with the lack of spectator controls, like I had a lot when I came back.
It was still very fluid.
I had a lot of friends, that have never touched Apex, don't ever play video games. My brother linked the stream to a lot of my friends, and a lot of them were like, I asked them because I was curious to hear their opinions. I was like, what did you think of it? They're like, oh, I don't know the game, but that was really fun to watch. It was really exciting, and that's what matters most. As much as it might suck for players, or it might not be like the true test. When I think esports, I think of all the really hype moments. For example, like I watched a lot of Dota 2, and I think of all the incredible international, like massive hype moments. And I think that's what you need to try to build up on. And I think this format does that really well. I think down the line, we're going to see some insane wins. Like I'm sure we'll see a 1v1 win on LAN for match point. And that's going to be incredible to witness. So I think the match point threshold and the win conditions should stay, but obviously tweaked a little bit. So it's not 12 games.
Yeah, 11 I also want to say when you're sitting in a booth that's like 90 to 100 degrees, 110, 120, 200 degrees, and you have to play from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Dude, oh my gosh. I think everybody was completely dead. I think everybody was completely gone.
There's a level of polarity in it because the spectator experience, especially in the 1v1 that Hal had against MVP, was like, this is the pinnacle. Like, this is exactly why this format was created. And I think if he wins right there, this conversation never happens. We're all sitting here saying this is the best format to ever happen, period. It was incredible. It lasted a perfect amount of games. But my biggest concerns about it when hearing about the format, there's 2 worst case scenarios, right? The first is, I think, what Monsoon was starting to bring up, where a team just survives long enough to hit the 50-point threshold and sneaks out a win. Because the worst case scenario for the second place team is that you win. Let's just say a team wins their first 3 games, hits the 50-point threshold, but then finishes second in every single game. The argument would be pretty clear that team that finished second was the best team in grand finals, but weren't able to win. So that would have been like the worst case scenario, where a team finishes with 100 points, but loses to a team that actually wins with 54 or something like that. Exactly. The other bad side and worst case scenario is that you just don't get a winner until round 15 plus, and everyone's just sitting there for hours on end. So like
Championship Monday.
The Championship Monday. It brought a lot of great discussions. And I think at the end of the day, 90% of it was really close. It just needs to come down to the point of how do we find a way to make it not so exhausting for players? Because even as a spectator, by round 9, sitting here, I was sitting here like, God, I made breakfast, lunch, and now I have to go make dinner to watch this finals. It was taking so long.
They were passing out water bottles to everyone that was sitting.
3
in
water bottles each person every game. All right. Okay. How about this?
Even the people that were watching in the
I was giving water out to everyone.
If there's no
like a water boy.
If there's no winner after 8 games, we call it night and come back early the next day.
Okay, so that would be your thought process. Mine was that
a 2-day final.
Mine was that you have the 50 point or whatever threshold plus a win until somebody hits like 100 points, and that's your second win condition. Because that was kind of like my idea that I'd come up with. I like Onset's idea though of making the point threshold lower plus an entry that you get extra score if you come out of the winner's bracket. I also kind of like all right, we'll pause, we'll bring back the action tomorrow because
I feel like after 8 games, everybody's gonna be dead tired. You sleep.
Yeah.
You come back with new strategy, with new thought. Mental.
The issue with that is the cost implication is
logistically
they gotta rent out the venue.
Like, that just won't happen. Like in an ideal world, it is, but it can't happen. Like that's just not possible.
I think
everyone venue.
I think in the far future.
In an ideal world, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But I think
when they make the Apex Stadium and they can control whatever they want.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think the points from winners bracket needs to happen just because it will eliminate. It should, as I say, with an asterisk next to it, eliminate the length of a grand final.
Right.
So TSM go into that grand final with 10, 12 points, whatever, towards a 50-point threshold, and second place has 6. Whatever. Like they're going to hit that quick, and they're going to be on match point quick. And I think that's what you need to get.
Balin actually makes a good point. It wouldn't have been a bad idea either to have the losers bracket final on a different day, because I think the teams that played in the losers bracket final, I think they played 16 games. Or was it 15? Either way, like Rogue, I think Kick. There's a lot of teams there. They played like 15 or 16 games in one day at an intense, insane level, like competitive level. It's like 4 games is honestly pretty tiring. Like you need to take a break after that.
And then you got to go straight into grand finals too if you make
that's insane.
I guess that was the disadvantage of coming out of losers bracket, right? It's the fact that you've had to play and you are tired, but that's because you were in losers. I don't know. Like, there's 2 ways to look at it, because some teams will come through and play that many games and be like, oh well, we're playing great now. We feel fantastic. I know a lot of teams who have made loser brackets runs and play great in the final because they're playing. They've been playing all day. But yeah, I think there's a few, as I say, I think overall the idea and the formula is really, really good and really exciting and really unique, which is great for Apex as well. To have a unique end to your esport and to your program is really, really important. Just a few tweaks, I think, and you've got something really special there.
Especially in Battle Royale esports, which is still an ongoing adaptive process. I mean, when it comes to Fortnite, that is literally every qualifier seems to be different depending on what is obviously allowed in the game. But the same thing with PUBG is the same way too. The format seems to be constantly evolving. So I was glad that we had so much conversation kind of given to us based on that format. I won't lie though, the initial kind of approach of it, I was really confused initially. I was like, wait, so you have to do 50 points? And the explanation was a little bit abrasive initially, but once you kind of figured out and once it was explained, for the 4th time, okay, I get it now. And I think that it definitely brought a lot of excitement. Again, that I hate to say it, but it was G2 as well. G2 was the same situation in one of their games where it was a 1v1v1, and they had the chance to close things out. And that extra bit of drama is definitely a lot more excitement than what we were given during the Fortnite World Cup, where Bugha won the game, the whole tournament in like round 3. Speaking of format things, though, transitioning away from Poland, obviously that was kind of our main focus of conversation for the whole show. But I want to talk TwitchCon because this is another kind of competitive environment, if you want to call it that. Not on the 29th, on Sunday, $500,000. 8 bounty teams, which are more traditionally known as some of our regular teams, will be going into this with streamer-based teams. 2 groups, 2 different waves of games, a lot of different prizing. But this is not what we would consider to be on the same page, at least as far as the competitive format goes, to what we saw in Poland. But I want to get your guys' take when it comes to streamers in specific. Who has the best chance at beating some of these preset teams like Sentinels and NRG in that?
No one.
It's a tough one. Yeah, honestly, no one. But
it's hard enough for pro teams to beat other pro teams, especially Sentinels, because they're so just individually just so good, man. They're like Sentinels' aim's nuts. Their specialty is full sending and dominating, just momentum. They're a momentum team.
Like how they won one of the qualifier games with like 25 kills.
Yeah,
it was like a pub game, man. It was insane.
That was wild.
Yeah, I don't think streamer team's none. Like, there's just not a chance.
I mean, so I'll be playing at the Rivals with Glitter Explosion.
Just like you're playing with Glitter.
Sancho, yeah, and I don't think I would be confident fighting Sentinels. So, yeah, I think.
Fair enough.
And Energy is a full roster.
Navi's going to be there as well.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
it's gonna be basically we joked about it last TwitchCon Berlin when they had that $500,000 tournament. There was like 2 full pro rosters and we're like literally an easy page. I think everyone knew that Rogue was probably gonna win it.
Yeah,
because I think they were the only team that was a pro team there that actually scrimmed a lot, and I think everyone in the pro team was like, yeah, just an easy paycheck for Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. So it's probably gonna be something similar. It'll be fun to watch though. At least all the other teams duke it out for some money.
Well, because there's also, because it's weird, and this is the distinction that is kind of surprising to me, is that there's the bounty team prize pool, which is a little bit higher, $30,000 if you finish in first, compared to the open invite teams, which get it by game. But Rogue and Counterlogic are both in the mix as open invite teams. They're not bounty teams. That's kind of why I was kind of trying to throw the conversation around, is that you got NRG and Sentinels and Na'Vi that are these bounty squads, but because Counterlogic and Rogue are full of so many streamers, they're technically open invite teams, and I don't know, it's kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I think these kind of tournaments they need to be taken with a pinch of salt a little bit, in the fact that it's certainly not a tier 1 esport highly competitive environment. It's more of a case of it's a marketing tool, in my opinion. There's going to be that competitive element to it, but the idea of this is to get as many eyes on the esport as possible. And I think, again, that's a super good thing that Apex have done. They've recognized the fact that people like watching personalities, people like engaging with personalities that they watch stream. And they're now going to be watching these pro players, and they're going to be going, "Oh my god, these guys are insane! Like this is happening. This is happening. I want to watch the next event." Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of transition, and I think that this is designed for. Obviously, I don't know myself. I don't know what the idea behind it is, but that would be my reasoning behind something like this. Plus, it's at TwitchCon. There's going to be casuals walking past who don't even know what Apex is, who are going to be watching this tournament and going to be interested in this tournament. And I think it's nothing but positive. And positivity can come out.
It's going to be so much fun.
Careers too.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Regardless, it's just going to be so much fun. Like, even though I'm not going in with my squad and stuff like that, and I'm playing with Glitter and Sancho, who are amazing people, first of all, like, I'm still excited to just have a blast, regardless of, if we win or lose, So.
I'm going to be watching, probably drinking a whole bottle of wine and crying, because I got invited to play, but I don't have a ticket. So I didn't have a ticket to TwitchCon, and they were sold out, so I can't play. So
I feel like
this feels bad, man.
Reserved tickets for the people invited.
Well, that's what I didn't want to buy a ticket because there was a lot of travel post Poland, and I figured, you're gonna play at TwitchCon, you'll at least get to get into TwitchCon because you're playing, right?
Exactly.
But that's not how it goes.
No, unfortunately.
Well, Hodsic, don't worry, you can just get a video chat with me, and we'll just drink our feelings together. How about that?
We can cry together.
Onset, you're more than welcome.
We can do a viewing party.
Perfect. Sounds wonderful. I'm excited to see some of the players that, like, I'm excited to see Mendo play, personally. I think that's going to be a fun. He's playing with Callie, so that's a little bit of a Team Liquid love. I'm excited to see those guys play. I'm excited to see Glitter play with you too, Monsoon. I can only imagine what that dynamic on stage is going to look like between the two of you. That's going to be a lot of fun.
If Glitter destroys someone,
she's going to pop on him. Yeah, she's going to pop on somebody.
I don't want to be on the receiving end of that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Heard. I'll keep that in mind.
I love you, Monsoon, but I gotta be rooting for my boy X Cuddy though, because I played in the first qualifier with him. Yeah, nice. With Assert, but I'm gonna be rooting for X Cuddy, Nathan, and Corn Pops.
That's fine.
Sure.
That's a fun team too.
Yeah. Love you, the boys.
So again, if you guys are not familiar to that, TwitchCon is going to be coming out on the 29th. That's Sunday. It'll be a morning and afternoon thing. It's 2 different groups, and they have 2 different waves to play. So you'll see different showings. It's not going to be a double elimination, no grand finals, anything like that. It's just based on placement for individual games. But let's talk Season 3 to kind of wrap this puppy up, or the Ranked Series 2. First and foremost, Crypto, of course. The trailer, the animation comes through. Hacker-style character. I got a lot of Sombra vibes, personally, from some Overwatch background as far as that goes. But I want to get your your guys' initial takes. Specifically Monsoon and Hodsic, I want to get your guys' takes competitively as far as what you think he might bring to the game as far as a meta changer. Obviously, we don't know a lot about what he's going to actually have ability-wise, but I want to get your kind of initial takes just around the board here as far as having a hacker-style character in the game and what it might mean for the meta as far as Legends go.
Well, we do know what he does, or at least it's been data mined rather heavily.
Sure, right. Unconfirmed, but confirmed, right?
Yeah. If all goes well and continues to go down that route, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it seems like they're going with and I think they've actually talked about this, but it seems like they're doing a similar thing to Rainbow Six, which is there's a meta in play, or they'll introduce a character that shifts the meta a certain way, and then the next character that's introduced is going to counter that meta. So I think, and Rainbow Six actually does it very well. I'm curious to see how it plays out here, but on paper, Crypto seems like he's obviously going to counter Watson and basically and the whole just house sitting meta, and I think that's going to be very interesting. I'm a little scared that if he does, personally, I think a meta you might see arise. Obviously, we have to see how everything plays out. We only have the numbers on paper, but once we see how he actually plays, I think it could shift to a Wraith Crypto Watson meta. So you have, because sitting in a house and defending a house is very important, but also being able to push one is pretty good too. So I think we might actually, I think it might kind of like, I don't know. I think it kind of go like just mess up
it a little bit.
Yeah, and then you have the best of both worlds. Because he's also very big. He seems like a better bloodhound too, because he can actually scout very well with his drone, from what we read at least. So I think it might be dangerous, and it might shift into an even better house sitting meta, but we'll see.
I think like we don't have enough. I'm excited for the day where we have enough viable legends to the point where we can literally run different team comps, and then that's when true competitive Apex gets to start. Other than that, I haven't played a single game competitively that does their game as well as EA does. I think they're such a progressive, the company. They're doing so well on their venues, on their production, on their talent, on just like everything, like their incentives. Season 3 is gonna be a shocker for sure. I think everybody is super hyped and excited for new content, for new map. If they change the map, you know what I'm saying? For future tournaments. I know they have big plans. They talk about it.
They said it's the most ambitious season. So I mean, there aren't many seasons. There aren't many seasons, but honestly, from season 1 to season 2, it was like a complete reversal in terms of how they're going to take the game seriously, and you love to see it. And also you can tell that they're putting so much money in it with all these like lore videos and stuff like that are really cool.
Yeah, the animation video for Crypto was cool. Was absolutely cool.
Yes,
him bleeding into like the real life with like through their Twitter and stuff, and like all these little Easter eggs in game. I think that's such a cool way to do it. I personally love it.
This is just a start too.
Yeah, I think it's so cool.
So well. Imagine a year from now where we can, like, that's exciting. It's not only just shaping the battle royale genre and competitive esports as a whole, but it's paving ways for players, people to establish themselves and find success for themselves and the stuff that they love to do. So I know I'm definitely thankful for having the opportunity to play. I know Hodsic is too. Like you said earlier, we come from Realm. That was the biggest letdown, I think, of my entire life.
I was up there.
That was the biggest letdown. And at least you got to walk away with, how much was it again?
Yeah,
not important. Not important.
Not important.
Team Star 100K first place winner.
You came out with like 20, 30K, and then man, that was just such the biggest letdown, But super excited and thankful to see what EA has to offer. They're doing such a phenomenal job.
I remember being hyped for like this game. Like we only heard about this game coming out like 2 days before it came out, right? We heard like
nobody heard anything.
I remember telling my stream, I was like, all right, tomorrow we'll play this for a little bit, and then for a couple hours, and we're gonna start Zelda Breath of the Wild. I didn't touch Zelda for 2 months because I was instantly addicted, and I could not get off the game.
Dude, I was playing Paladins competitively, and I had to scrim one of those days, and I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to Apex. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. I heard about Apex the day it came out. I was like, okay, it kind of looks kind of sloppy, but we'll try it. And
I remember jumping on and going, I'm not building. I can just outposition and outshoot someone, and
Yeah,
I've never had so much
I
fun in my
remember
life.
movement.
I'm like,
yeah,
the
just in the
movement,
training,
dude.
it's
I
like
was
playing
yeah,
Halo, and I was like,
the
oh
movement was. I was
God,
just like, this is
good.
incredible. I was like, this is like Blackout meets Realm, but like
Yeah.
the best version
Sure.
of both.
Overwatch meets Blackout would be like the more.
Okay, well, Overwatch sucks. Don't
I
at me.
mean, Realm sucks even more though.
Yeah,
I
it does. That's true. Actually. That's
Onset,
true. That's true.
I want to get your take as well. I mean, coming from a broadcaster point of view and a caster's point of view, obviously there is a lot of attention being made to, learn the ins and outs of how to dissect the game and, get that kind of subconscious that a competitive player gets maybe without that high level of practice. But going into season 3 and seeing the changes of the game since when this game first started, as an esports future, I kind of want to get your take as far as what you're looking forward to most out of this title.
I think the fact that with different legends being introduced consistently, you are going to naturally have an evolution of meta, which is always important to keep interest in a game. Whether that's a positive thing or a negative thing on some
Sure.
spot, like how it all works is up for debate. I also think that having someone like Ghost the Army, super involved on the esports side of things I really don't think people realize how valuable and incredible that man is. I grew up
awesome.
watching
Super
that guy
attentive.
compete on Halo 2 and on Halo 3. He single-handedly tried to save Halo 4 by putting his own time and hours into that game to come up with semi-competitive settings. Obviously, I've casted alongside him. I worked some of my first events over in the States with him, and he is the embodiment of everything positive about esports. And
he is so
beautiful.
awesome, dude.
He's a beautiful human.
A wonderful
so
human
awesome.
who will do everything he can to make Apex esports successful. So he is the guy, and as long as the game listens, as long as EA listen to him, the competitive community listen to him, you're going to be in good hands.
I think let's state that not only has he been super good for the game, but at Poland he walked around to every booth, every single game to make sure everybody had their settings right, the PCs were fine.
That's what I mean.
Everything. And,
Like he did that the first time he did that to my team. Leonix, who was with us, our CEO, immediately as soon as he walked away, he immediately turned to us and he was like, "Dude, they treat you guys like kings compared to PUBG." And I was like,
"Yeah,
I'll take it." I was like,
"It's like
he's like in PUBG, they'll start with or without you. They don't care. Like,
yeah." And there's EA, Ghost, Shaheen too has been super good. They're all so good to us. Like, how do we as pro players give back? I think it's just loving the game, playing the game, loving the game, feedback, appreciating them. I think we have a really good dynamic going on between the pro players, the pro scene, and EA. All of EA, even
super healthy. It's super important.
Absolutely. And this game has been out for what, 7 months?
Yeah, I think another thing I just wanted to raise a point of is, as a community, the Apex Pro scene is unreal. Like the positivity that comes out of you guys is something that I have not experienced in many other games I've worked in, and it is something you should all be like super proud of yourself and keep. Like try whatever you do, keep, because it makes people want to work with you. It makes orgs want to work with you, and it is like you don't realize how much it means to, for example, member talent after an event to have something positive said about you by anyone. Like, because it's kind of like the event's done, Like, it's you guys as well. Like, honestly, it's been a pleasure to work with you guys and like to be in Poland and experience all of that with you. It was amazing, and the reaction, whatever, was amazing. So please do not change. Keep being good people. Like you're doing. It's amazing.
I just think it's so cool. I just think it's so cool to like just to play with so many people for months on end, and then just everyone comes together and meets up like, in real life. I don't think there's not like really that much bad blood between the scene, and it's just there's
a lot of good vibes and like positive energy and like gratefulness. I think for the opportunity, which is
I think we're all very grateful. I don't think any of us, 7-8 months ago, you would have told us that we'd be competing in a tournament for a game that we haven't heard of.
Yeah,
I think the biggest breakthrough of the community as a whole was right before X Games. Everybody went and played basketball. We all played basketball.
I was jealous.
I'm telling you, man, it's the best thing you can do. We do it at FIFA events. We go and play football before the event.
Yep.
It's vital.
It's like I think we're all the most proud about the community and family that we've built together. Like it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's really cool to be a part of. Absolutely.
We're going to hit the ranked scoring changes that are coming up, but for you guys out in chat, we will be taking some viewer questions. So if you guys have any that you've been sitting on, feel free to put them out in chat. We'll try to hit as many as we possibly can as we're looking to wrap this up here in the near future. But I want to talk about ranked scoring changes when it comes down to the ranked mode as a whole. I personally am very, very excited about this because as a player that typically gets a lot of assists, I don't typically get the kill credit that I want. So in case you're not familiar with it, it is on the most recent patch notes if you guys are looking for it as far as the Series 2 ranked scoring will go. Essentially, all of the points as far as the RP are getting times 10. So entry fees are going up, but also your rewards are going up as far as placements as well as kills and assists. I'll actually go ahead and just link the post in chat for you guys right now in case you're unfamiliar with that. But I want to go around the room here and just kind of get your guys' thoughts as far as the adjustments. And I think for most of us, we'd probably agree the improvements going from Series 1 to Series 2. Onset, I want to start with you because I know these guys are sitting in Apex Predator, probably not super happy about the soft reset, but probably partially happy about the soft reset. I don't even know where are you ranked at right now, Onset?
I'm diamond.
Okay, all right. I'm knocking on the door. I've been on a 2-week grind. All right, fair enough. What are your thoughts as far as the series changes go?
I think it's good. I think it's positive again. Some people might be going, well, what's the point in like timesing it by 10? I think what it does is it gives more scope for other aspects of the game to be rewarded, to give you RP. Like you're saying, for assists to be built into that. If you are a player, for example, who plays support for your team and you do a lot of damage in a game, you don't necessarily get rewarded for that, right? At the end of the game, because you don't get any points for not getting any kills. You might hopefully that's going to be factored in the assists and you're going to be rewarded for that and rewarded points. Obviously not as many as a kill, but it gives that scope for there to be sort of some sort of middle ground. I would like to see if you go in as a team of 3, your RP be spread across the team instead of just being individual.
Sure.
As well, I'd like to see that a little bit more, especially in the higher ranks. Maybe once you hit diamond, because if you're hitting diamond, I feel like there's obviously a big jump from plat to diamond, and when you hit diamond, I feel like most people are playing in 3s or in 2s or in teams, and I'd like to see that RP potentially be spread because it's, I think you again in the current state you can do a lot of damage for your team and do a lot of good things, but you end up just getting the RP for your placement.
Sure.
So I think it's again a positive step in the right direction. I can't criticize it. There's nothing to criticize. It's a good thing that they're trying to do to make the game, the quality of life even better.
Monsoon, what do you think?
For sure. I'm just excited to see that number 1 under my name, man.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's cool.
The Koreans are gonna have a big one over you.
Yeah, no, I know. No, I'm super excited. I mean, like, evolving, regardless of how well or how bad it works. I mean, it's a step towards, understanding and learning what's better for the game, what the people like. So I'm super excited. Like, they can make any change, and I'll be like, yeah, this changed. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm pretty biased towards like everything that they do. I think it's all good. So
You're mostly looking forward to the global leaderboard, though, by the sound of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, like right now, once you hit Predator, there's really no reason to grind for like high RP. Who cares, right? Especially when you're a pro. Like you hit Predator. Like the journey to Predator was incredible. It was awesome. It was exhilarating. It was fun, especially to have that accolade and that merit of being a Predator. But after you hit Predator, you're like, there's really no point, really. So introducing the global leaderboard or the regional leaderboard that's visual, that you can see visible on the game, it's going to give a lot more incentive for players to take ranked seriously, So I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, I was very surprised at how well, like obviously the current rank system is not perfect at all, it has flaws, but how well for not having like a template to go off of very much, other than like maybe Fortnite's rank system. But I think they did a really good job with this ranked system for its first iteration, and I'm absolutely excited for the next one. I think it minimizes a lot of really, like, there's that awkward like in between 10th place and 5th place where like everyone's trying to rat just to get to 5th place for the extra points. I love that they're smoothing that like little curve out. I love that they're awarding assists, and that they kills and assists have like a multiplier depending on how high you place. I think that's so cool. But most of all, I love that while they're making like more adjustments to it, like where it might be harder to like mentally calculate your RP, I think it's so cool that they're putting it all on the screen. I thought that needed to be there since day one. I think nothing but absolutely positive changes. I'm not that excited for like leaderboard grinding because, to be honest, it's incredibly hard to surpass.
What about with me?
the Koreans. Well, no, don't get me wrong. I love ranked. I still think there's, aside from like the current meta being rather stale with Lombos, I actually enjoy playing ranked. I think there's still a lot that you can improve on in ranked. I think, like for example, mitigating third parties or like I think that you can learn a lot from playing a ton of ranked. But no, I think it's gonna be hard to grind over the Koreans and Europeans. There's already people with like what 8,000 RP. At least like grinding on NA servers. Late night, those servers are rough. You literally have every pro team or almost full pro lobbies late night. So I think it's going to be kind of rough for NA in terms of grinding leaderboard, but I still think it's going to be fun. I think it's nothing but all positive changes. I don't dislike a single one.
We'll grind Hodsic.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll do it. Me and you. It's a date.
Absolutely.
If
I'll just watch.
I'm saying you can come too.
I'm busy, but thanks for your offer.
Oh yeah, I was busy too, so it's all it worked out.
It was a mere courtesy. Taking some viewer questions again. If you guys are interested in throwing any questions our way to discuss, a couple from Incapasia here. The first one being, well, I guess the question is, how can we buff Bloodhound and Mirage to be at least usable? So I guess the question posed would be, what would you do to Bloodhound and Mirage to be more usable in the competitive integrity of the game, I guess is the best way of putting it.
So,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, if you insist.
All right, so no, go ahead.
I think for Mirage, first and foremost, I actually think his decoy and his ult, the changes they made to his ult are really good. That he's like near invisible now, and that you can toggle it off whenever you want. I think those are really good. Obviously, maybe have his like weapon pull out a little bit faster. Maybe coming out of his ult would be really good. But the biggest one they need to rework is passive. I don't think any abilities that are based on dying are ever good.
No.
You never want that, and it's not even that great to begin with. So I think reworking his passive is like first and foremost number one. Bloodhound, maybe. I love the change to his Q actually, but the problem with Bloodhound is his abilities aren't good enough to offset the fact that if you get caught out with him, you're just dead.
Yeah.
He's basically like a Watson or a Lifeline without the support for your team though. His ult, remove the sound that he makes from his ult. I get why it's there at first when I started playing the game, and like you hear the heavy breathing coming after you. You were like pretty freaking terrified. You were like, "Holy shit, Bloodhound's coming after me!" But now it's like, please come faster. Like, I think probably remove the sound from that, and also the FOV change. I hate it. I can't hit a shot in his ult. I literally don't use it if I play him. I think that's a little weird, but yeah, I think those are a couple of things that I would do.
Yeah.
Make his head a little bit smaller as well.
I was about to say, he's literally a walking head hitbox for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I was actually talking to one of the lead developers at X Games about how can we make actually both Bloodhound and Mirage better. His name is Griff. He's awesome dude, by the way. Shout out to him. We had talked and I had thought that maybe, okay, what if you took Bloodhound's Q and made it a projectile like a sensor drone in Realm? But it had like a 6-second cooldown. I mean, okay, it still wouldn't make him viable enough to play. But then we had talked about what if you had lifesteal in Ultimate? What if you had that on hit lifesteal? And that was something that was really interesting. As far as Mirage, I think being able to shoot and have a second of invisibility while being able to shoot in your Ultimate might be super helpful and might make him even viable even. That other than that, like maybe his decoys, being able to actually pinpoint someone's position rather than just like, if they shoot it, then you know which direction they're coming from.
I was about to say the same thing. It was make his decoy a little bit more dynamic instead of just like this halfway speed running that he does. Like let him stop and shoot once and
exactly. That's what I was thinking. Is like, okay, so what if you send a decoy out and it immediately, it's armed with an R99 that shoots blanks even. It doesn't do any damage, but just shoots the nearest target that it sees to give like an exact location, let alone some like, I don't know, extra audio cues that someone's over there even. Who knows?
Yeah.
But super excited to see the future. I do like the Bloodhound changes though. Like for the
I wouldn't mind a Bloodhound meta.
Yeah.
I would not mind it. Like he seems like he'd be a fun good character, but like he's just at the current state. Nah, you get caught out, you're just dead.
Yeah, I mean his kit is all around hunting people down.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
cannot do that. In battle royales in general, you can't do that. Third parties, the time to kill, especially from long range, is still relevant. And it's just like, yeah, for sure. So Bloodhound meta would not be bad if they proposed the right fixes, for sure.
Incapacia also puts out the point, what do you guys think about nerfing bullet audio volume? Feel like 90% of the game is just third-party smash as you hear gunplay in the distance. I think all of us would agree that the bullet audio is definitely something that helps obviously promote not only the camping meta, but also the third-party meta that exists mostly in BRs. I think most of us would probably agree that we would like bullet audio to be a little bit more reduced. Can we all? I'm sure we'll all agree on that. Anyone disagree with that?
Yeah.
Take some from bullet audio and put it on footstep audio.
Yeah, there it is.
Fair enough. Fine with that. This is kind of more of an open-ended question from Whitehammer. What do you guys think Season 3 will look like? I guess this could be a lot of different things, whether it be map layout or meta change or weapon change. What are some of the things you guys are looking forward to most in Season 3?
Definitely looking up for longbow nerf, first and foremost. Like, I love sniping in these games, but longbow is just way overtuned. I think everyone agrees on that. Disruptor, I like the idea of disruptors. I think they definitely need to change them up a bit, and I hope they adjust hammer points. I feel like not enough people complain about them. They are insane.
They're nuts.
So from that, I would like to see that change from the gun meta. But I'm curious to see what other characters, like, obviously they want to shake up the meta every season. I'm curious to see what characters they're going to bring up, what guns they're going to bring up. Like I keep kind of joking about it on my stream that one day we're going to see Bloodhound Hemlock meta. We'll see it one day.
At one point it's possible. It's very possible.
Fun. That'd be fun.
You never. I mean, if we went to the start of Apex and I was like, hey, one day P20 and Mozambique are going to be viable, you'd laugh at me then.
Yep.
But hey, here we are.
Here we are.
That'd be exciting.
I would like to just see like a big meta swap more than anything in particular. Also, in terms of map changes, nuke the entirety of the middle caves that leads from like Skull Town to like up to Bunker, and I hate that place so much.
As a controller player, that's one of my favorite places.
I believe that.
It's so many kind of terrain, It's just
it's just so many major rotations funneled into chokes. It really. I would like to see more paths.
I mean, you don't have to land market if that's the case, Hodsic.
What? I don't land market.
You don't land market?
No.
Where do you land now?
Can't give away the strats anymore.
Obviously, you're landing somewhere close to the
cave. The season ahead of us. Nothing is coming out anymore.
Apparently you land close to the caves. We don't. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, Slick would know where.
Yeah, Hodsic's out here in Hillside Outpost, just landing on SSG all day long.
Other way around.
Oh, okay. That's other way around. Oh, sure, other way around.
So you guys landed Hill Containment. Yeah. But you used to land Market. No, that was
no. SSG used to land Market. SSG and HRN/O.
And Liquid.
Yeah.
All the things.
Yeah.
All right, next question from 0 0 Darwin Project Pro. What do you guys think about solo ranked? Would it be a good idea for streaming purposes?
I don't think I'd like it. I actually don't. Hot take. I don't think I'd like it.
The question was, would it be good for streaming? Not would you like it?
I don't think it would.
Dude, I totally think it would.
I think it was fun.
It was fun. It was fun.
I think solo content is really good for streaming. I think solo ranked would be. I think you'd have a lot of the same issues, only glorified because of how much people would be hiding, and you don't have your team to rely on. Like, you would have so many. Like, I can see it right now. Solo ranked Predator would just be complaining about people hiding with fucking
fourth and fifth parties.
Yeah, fourth and fifth parties. Nobody fighting. You're not gonna be able to find anyone on the map because people are just gonna be hiding for the most part.
On the flip side, when you have super aggressive players that are mechanically inclined, I guess you can say. I mean, it's super fun. I gotta say,
I would love to. I would grind it regardless, but I don't think it would be as fun as people think. I love solos in general. I thought it was actually worked a lot better than I thought it would.
All right. Agree or disagree? Would it hurt the game?
No.
I don't think so.
For sure. I think
it would help the game. I mean, I think
think
any form of solos would help the game because everyone,
sure.
that's all I see on Twitter every time Play Apex puts out a post. Bring back solos, bring back solos.
I'd like to see the casual solos put back in. I don't like the idea of ranked because I like
wouldn't
the
play
idea
ranked solos. I'd
of,
play casual
I just
solos.
like the idea of a ranked playlist being what the esport is. You know what I mean?
True,
like one of
true,
those things.
true.
It's like,
For
if you want to
sure.
play ranked, this is what we want to promote. That's what we want people to be playing.
Yeah.
I would like to see duos though.
Yeah.
Duos would be
duos
fun.
would be sick.
Duos would be
Duos
awesome.
would be super fun.
Yeah, when I played the solos, like I went to the solos mode to like decompress and just chill and frag and stream and talk to chat. Like I didn't want to sweat in solos. That's the thing. I would play it if it was there, but I think I'd prefer it to stay just casual, like pub stomping solos. I think they're so fun.
Yeah.
Any open predictions on the new meta potentially in ranked in regards to obviously the new legend, but also the new scoring system that comes from Jarlin? I'll take this one first. Actually, I think you're going to see a little bit more aggression out of the lower ranks below Apex Predator, because you're even starting to get a little bit of that even when I was grinding through gold, where players after Poland saw that, all right, the whole meta is just camp until the very end, and they started to do that. I think that with assists being in the mix, I think you're going to start to see a little bit more aggression. It just comes down to, I think, of in practice, how much does Crypto really kind of break up the bunker bus? You know, is that EMP ult that we're assuming that's going to happen, does it really... is it easy to use, or do you have to like scope it all out first and then hit a trigger and then go? Because I think that depending on the time of execution for Crypto is going to play a lot when it comes to how the legend ranking or meta goes when it comes down to ranked.
Yeah, it's gonna matter. It's gonna depend a lot about, like, we know what he does on paper, but we don't know the actual numbers. We don't know cooldowns.
Exactly.
We don't know damage. We don't know. We don't know animations are a big one too. We don't know how to control the drone. Do we shoot it? Do we manually control it? Like Rainbow Six. We don't know really any of that. So it's going to come down to a lot of his actual execution. Obviously, on paper, he seems nuts. But we shall see. And like I said, I fear that we might get into a bunker meta still, but just with Crypto and being able to like push houses. Because if I think one of his abilities or passes is within 30 meters of the drone, it like pings enemy locations. So
that's what it sounded like.
So he's going to be a really good scouting tool as well, which is I think is a good idea, actually. I hate... it's a good strat, but I hate when people set up like these little like traps and stuff, or like closed, or like they close doors to pretend like they've never been there. It's a good strategy, it certainly is, but like
just sit in corners and wait
but it feels it's so frustrating to die to. So it'd be nice to have a character that can like.
That was one of our fights with Navi.
Happened to us from Exco's team.
Oh yeah,
a trap, and that was.
I just wonder if, you know, obviously the legends being, the idea of it is kind of a Watson counter, so to speak.
Right.
And I wonder if it goes the other way, like you're saying, if it becomes a Watson counter and both legends kind of nullify each other to the point where we have other legends then being picked. Like you have the idea of Lifeline, or, you know, coming back into it a lot more and things like that.
I heard. I don't know.
More opportunities.
I don't know. I forget. One pro told me that his EMP is going to destroy deployable ults, and they said, I don't know where they got the information from, but they said it will also destroy Wraith Portal, which is big.
Ooh, that's huge.
Yeah.
If it destroyed Wraith Portal, that guy is instantly top tier.
That's actually wildin'. Holy smokes.
That would be instantly top tier. So it will be very interesting. Yeah, Zero. He said destroyed Zipline as well. So it would be very interesting. I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah.
That is interesting. That just, I like any character that's gonna open up the potential for more legends.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I want to see some more Octane.
Give
my guys some love.
Dude, I was thinking about it yesterday.
Fun to play.
I actually in the early scrim days, I loved the Wraith Bangalore Lifeline. Like that was fun. It
was fun.
That was a cool meta.
Yeah. Not sure if this was covered already from Mr. Buckles. Actually, this has been covered already. But thoughts on the current weapon meta? Any changes you'd like to see outside of the longbow and hammer point? Is there anything else that you guys are kind of looking at as potentially being like the next potentially OP weapon combo?
R9. I wouldn't mind the R9.
I'd like to see more recoil on the R9.
Yeah, it's a little,
especially from like medium range. It needs to be like.
Dude,
I mean, maybe it's because I'm a support player. If somebody happens to come up behind, like I'm a Watson player, if someone happens to come up behind me and they just one clip me if they have a purple mag, it's frustrating as heck.
You guys said it, now it's out in the universe.
No, Diego. There've been some other higher content creators that have been tweeting about about that stuff too. Like, I would like to see damage drop off on the Peacekeeper too, like a little bit, nothing crazy.
I think they're gonna nerf the PK for sure.
It's such a double-edged sword. When the game first came out, I was like, dude, PK, like this thing is so busted, I refuse to use it. But at the same time, like if you nerf the PK, like it is obviously a very strong weapon, but if you nerf it, then you nerf minor, like really big outplay potential.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a really fine balance that you don't want to nerf. So it's a double-edged sword.
It's a tough one with the Peacekeeper because it's like I think it's the most unforgiving weapon. Where if you miss a shot,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
you're screwed.
Yeah,
Like
it's
so,
certainly
I
the
think it's
biggest-
kind of
yeah.
that. I don't know if something like just reducing the reticle size or the projectile size would be better to make it a little bit of a tight, like basically more difficult to hit your shot.
Mhm.
That would be better than a damage drop off, because then that makes that risk reward, even more so. It's like if you hit your shot, you can do a hell of a lot of damage, but you've got to be really, really good to hit that shot.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the R99 is an interesting conversation. I know that Slick was in the chat. He likes to have his high octane weapons, but I feel like it's one of those things that make it to the point where the barrel and the stock feel more necessary than it currently does. Like I feel like you can get away without having the barrel and
That's the
stock,
point,
and it still rips through people.
Yeah. But if you have the purple versions, it's not.
Oh, it's a beam.
Yeah.
It's a lightning beam for sure. I feel you.
Yeah, I think stock is actually greatly overlooked. People like obviously everyone wants the highest attachments, but I think people don't realize how good the stock really is.
Yeah.
It's very good for weapon swapping. It's insane actually. Like if you have like some people like to run alternator disruptors with R9. If you have a purple stock on that R9, you pull that bad boy out so fast and you just melt them.
Yeah. I feel you.
It's pretty big. So
speaking of nerfs, and this will be the last little conversation point from Raffles the Great, do you guys think that Disruptor Hammer Point needs to be nerfed just a little bit more than it currently is? I think most of us agree on the hammer points, but do you guys feel like the changes to Disruptor were enough?
I think one thing I've been like kind of toying with, I think I would like to, I think right now it's 5 shots to knock out shields, if I'm right.
A full shield, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it either go to like 6 shots, or honestly, if you have the disruptor attachment on, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Like the purpose of the disruptor is to knock out shields, right? So why not have it like, 5 shots is a decent amount, but why not have it like do less damage? If you have the disruptors on, you do less damage to flesh. Like maybe
That's
like
what I think. Yeah,
That's a
like
good idea.
I think it
I
does.
like
Maybe
that.
it should destroy
like that.
shields, but it should drop off after the shield is.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
it does like 13 to a normal damage character flesh. Like why not drop it to like 10 or 11?
Yeah, 10 or 11. Yeah, exactly. I like that. That'd make it
I like that
balanced,
too.
right?
Yeah,
Because like the whole point of disruptors is to be overpowering against shields, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
if you lower
exactly.
that number, then you bring in like, Havoc, Flatline, Scout, all do like just as much damage, right?
Right.
If you lower the disruptor damage, and then it's like, why do we even have disruptors? But I think lowering the flesh damage while the disruptor's attached is definitely the play.
I also
Yeah.
feel like sometimes the hop ups are too common. I have to
Yeah.
say, like, there's so many of them. Like,
But the problem is, if you make them more rare, that just makes them more powerful for the person that has it.
Right. The
Yeah.
RNG
So-
element of it becomes too.
It's like when
yeah.
when they nerfed the wingman peacekeeper spawn rate.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the teams in scrims that had them, you were like, all right, well, I guess we just lose.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's rough.
that makes sense.
In terms of hammer point, lowering the damage on flesh.
Oh yeah, it's way too strong. It's way overlooked. People don't even. I don't think they've even touched it, have they?
I don't think so.
No.
37.
Yeah,
Is
from,
it
from a pistol. Yeah.
It's
Three
nuts.
shot on
Three,
flesh.
three shot
That's gonna
P20.
hurt.
It's wild.
Like people don't really pick it up, but that stuff is. I think I know NRG loves their hammer points.
I love
And
my hammer
they,
points.
Yeah, and they slam with them.
I feel like if you're gonna run it at that level too, where especially in ranked, this kind of just goes for everybody, not just the competitive environment, but if you're out there and you casually are playing through ranked, having somebody on your team, if you find hammer point, use that, because it's so rare to
I'm
find
a fan.
enough shield battery to get everybody healthy. You're gonna be able to find somebody to full flesh on.
I'm a fan
yeah.
of running
Oh,
2
yeah.
disruptors, 1 hammer point.
Yep. I run disruptor
And you just
hammer
call
points.
targets.
So I literally just run disruptor hammer points and super aggressive until I have to queue back.
Yeah.
Feel that. Cool.
Heck yeah.
Final thoughts from you guys, though? I think we're just about wrapping it up here for our first episode. It's been a fun one. Onset, final thoughts from you about everything we talked about?
Firstly, thank you for having me.
of
And
course.
I would say that Apex has been very fortunate with the way that the program has been developed so far. I think it's been super successful, the esports side of things. And honestly, with the community, with the players, with everyone who's involved, I think there's a really, really bright future. And whether I am involved or not in the future, best of luck to everyone. It's going to be a fun journey. That's it.
Yeah,
Monsoon, from yourself?
Dude, I couldn't agree more. I'm just super, super excited. Super excited to see where it goes, Already the past 7 months have blown my expectations of what a video game can do for me. So super excited to continue establishing, the family and community we have, and continue to play some more Apex. That's the goal.
Hodsic?
Likewise. There's never been a game that I've grinded this hard that I don't dread. I still like, I probably don't play it maybe as many hours as I used to after playing ranked, but I'm like 1400 hours deep, and I don't dread logging on. I love logging on. I think it's a game where like the skill cap or the skill ceiling is so high. I don't think any of us have even like truly even come close to reaching what we can, and I'm so excited for the future. I can't wait. It's wild.
Well, it's a pleasure having you guys on. Thanks for joining me with the first episode again. Make sure you guys, if you're out there, you go and follow these guys on Twitter. It's Onset MTH, Monsoon GG, and just Hodsic on Twitter. Of course, if you missed some of this episode, you can go back onto the YouTube. I'll have this uploaded pretty quickly for you guys at youtube.com/IHOLDSHIFT for you if you want to catch some of this conversation we had earlier. Again, we're hoping to do this on a bi-weekly basis at least, if not weekly. We'll see exactly how the content kind of flows to make sure we have enough content to make an episode come through. So if you guys enjoyed, a pleasure having you guys. Until the next one. Hope you guys keep pulling it down. So long.